Hey, Elon.
Exciting.
Congrats. Congratulations.
We have no microphones up there coming through.
The
The mole box.
I need you to turn off your devices and mute them. We're going to start in 30 seconds.
Hang on that one, please. Hang on a minute. Wolf box mics.
Incredible day today. The first reflight of an Orbital booster did its mission perfectly, dropped off the second stage, came back and landed on the droid ship right in the bullseye. It's an amazing day, I think, for space. This is going to be ultimately a huge revolution in spaceflight.
Good evening, everyone. This is the post-launch news conference for the SpaceX SES-10 mission. Here tonight to give us a status of the launch and our mission is Elon Musk, CEO and lead designer of SpaceX. Ed Martin Hallowell, Chief Technology Officer, SES. We'll start now with Elon Musk.
All right, thanks. Well, I already gave some basic remarks on the webcast, but this represents the culmination of 15 years' work at SpaceX to be able to refly a rocket booster. The most expensive part of the whole mission, from a launch standpoint, is the boost stage. It represents, depending on how you count it, up to 70% of the cost of the flight. So being able to refly the rocket booster, ultimately with the only thing changing between flights being propellant, means that, at least for that portion of the flight, the cost reduction potential is over 100, over a factor of 100. In fact, all of the propellant cost for the flight is only 0.3% of the cost of the rocket, of the cost of the mission. So even when you factor in maintenance and capitalization of the cost of the rocket, the potential is there, just as it is with air flights or road travel or really any means of transport. The potential is there for over 100-fold reduction in the cost of access to space, which means that it has, if we can achieve that, if SpaceX and I think hopefully others will also do the same, it means that humanity can become a space-faring civilization and be out there among the stars. This is what we want for the future. So,
Well, absolutely wonderful day, absolutely astounding. What an amazing mission for SES-10. It's a perfect mission. We have a perfect orbit. We have acquisition of the satellites. We actually got acquisition of the satellites around about 35 minutes earlier than we expected. And in fact, all the three missions that we've had from SpaceX, this is absolutely the most calm, no problems whatsoever, absolutely smooth mission. So it really couldn't have gone better, and we are hugely, hugely excited by this. To be part of this, I think we made a little bit of history today, actually, and just opened the door into a whole new era of spaceflight. And to be part of that, I feel very, very privileged. And it's great thanks to Elon and all of the people of SpaceX that have really made this possible and just pushed us forward to the next stage. So bring it on. Fantastic.
And I'd just like to say thanks for taking a chance on SpaceX. This is not the first time you've taken a chance on us. And I just really want to say thank you for having the faith.
Thanks, Elon. But actually, some of the people asked me the other day, they said, oh, you're taking a big risk. And I said, look,
SES got a lot of flack.
we got a lot of flack. But it is, as I said to some of you guys the other day, I said, you've got to decouple the emotion from the engineering.
Right.
And that's the most important thing. And the engineering team that Elon has working for him is really second to none. And he asks very simple, profound questions, and he gets very good answers. And you know, the proof is in the pudding. Here we are. We did it.
Yeah.
We did it together.
Thank you.
That was absolutely fantastic.
So we're now going to take some questions here in the room. When you're recognized, please state your name and your affiliation. And I'd ask you that you also please wait until the microphone comes to you. We do have a limited amount of time this evening, but I do want to note that. But we'd like to begin now with Marcia Dunn.
Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for Mr. Musk.
Hey, Martin.
Will you refly this booster, and when's your next flight of a reused booster, whether it's this one or another one?
We actually have several reflights planned for later this year. If all goes well, I think we may fly as many as 6, maybe do as many as 6 reflights. For Falcon Heavy, 2 of the boosters, the 2 side boosters are reflown boosters. So that alone will be two cores right there. In fact, that'll be an exciting mission, one way or another. Hopefully in the good direction. We're not going to fly anything on. We'll probably fly something really silly on the first flight of Falcon Heavy, because it is quite a high-risk mission. But in terms of things to look forward to later this year, I think that'll be quite fun, because the 2 side boosters will come back and do sort of synchronized aerial ballet and land. 2 the side boosters will land back at the Cape. So that'll be pretty exciting to see 2 come in simultaneously, and the center core will land downrange on the drone ship. If all goes according to plan.
So what about this one? Will you fly this one again?
Well, this one we think this one sort of has some historic value. So we're thinking of seeing if perhaps the Cape might like to have it as something to sort of remember the moment. So we're going to present it as a gift to the Cape.
Bill Harvey, CBS News. Elon, I got an email from a retired shuttle engineer who goes all the way back to Apollo. And his email was simply said, "It ain't bragging if you do it." And what message do you think this mission gives to your competitors? You mentioned the space industry earlier, but it seems like, well, I'll ask you, I mean, do you think other people are going to follow in your footsteps, or do you think this is something you're going to be doing exclusively in the near term?
Well, I think hopefully this will inform the decisions of other space organizations, and because really this has been thought to be either really too hard or not really feasible, and I think we've shown that something that a lot of people thought was somewhere between impossible or you just shouldn't do it to hey, it works, and then I think really in order to be competitive in launch classes, I think it's going to be necessary for other launch companies to do the same thing. Just as you can imagine that if we were an aircraft company selling aircraft that could be flown many times, and everyone else was selling aircraft that could be flown once, well, I mean, that's not a very competitive position to be in. Like you said, so you really want to have the aircraft that can be flown lots of times. And so I think that's, once it's clear that something can be done, then I think that will encourage others in that direction. I hope it does. Because I think it shouldn't just be SpaceX, there should be many launch companies that succeed.
Irene, thoughts?
Thank you. Hi, thanks for coming over and congratulations. Irene Fox with Reuters.
Yeah, right.
Hi.
Maybe for like 10 years. Maybe more.
Do you have other customers that were not as perhaps brave as Mr. Halliwell here that are now signed
That's
up?
safe to say.
And
yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about
Sure.
what you think the life-limiting factor will be now in the first stage? How many times you think you'll be able to fly?
Sure. Well, it's we're really, I'd like to say NASA has been incredibly supportive in terms of pushing the envelope for new things. And then on the commercial side, SES has been by far the most supportive. Again, couldn't say enough thank you enough. So the next thing is to try to figure out how do we achieve a very rapid reuse with minimal refurbishment and minimal, without any sort of hardware changes on the vehicle. No, so with this being the first reflight, we were incredibly paranoid about everything. So we sort of, the core airframe remained the same, the engines remained the same, but any sort of auxiliary components that we thought might be slightly questionable, we changed out. So now, now our aspiration will be 0 hardware changes, reflight in 24 hours. The only thing that changes is we reload propellant. We might get there towards the end of this year, but I think, if not this year, I'm confident we'll get there next year.
So without inspections, no inspections, you just would refly?
Oh, you look at it. I mean, you have day.
Yeah.
So we'll certainly expect it, and there will be quite a lot of onboard health monitoring. So there's a lot of sensors on board to say whether things are good or not. So the onboard health check system, there's a lot of sensors that confirm the health of the rocket. Just like an aircraft, really.
I'd like to take a question from the phone, please. I think we have on the line Chris Davenport from the Washington Post.
Oh, hi, Elon. Thanks for taking the call.
Hey.
I guess I want to follow up on Bill Harwood's question. Because you had said this was a real significant moment, not just for SpaceX, but for the industry as a whole. Blue Origin and others are obviously working on reusability. You recently just showed an artist rendering of a ship that looked really a lot like your drone ship. And I wonder what your reaction to that was and to their plans, which really seem to be tracking yours.
Well, it seems to, I mean, what's it saying about the best form of flattery? But actually, I think it's good. Frankly, I think if a company shows that a path is working, then other companies should copy that. I mean, it would be silly not to. We wouldn't want to arbitrarily not do the right thing simply because some other company has. So I think it is the wise move to well, obviously we think it's wise move because the decision we made, but is that rapid and complete reusability of rockets is just really the key to opening up space and becoming a space-faring civilization, a multi-planet species, and having the future be something that's incredibly exciting and inspiring that we'll look forward to.
All right, one more question from the phone, please. It's Dave Mosher from Business Insider.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, actually, one little bit of breaking news, which the fairing, the big nose cone at the top of the rocket, that actually successfully landed as well. So that's definitely cherry on the cake. So we actually have a parachute that the fairing has its own thruster control system and a steerable parachute. It's like its own little spacecraft. So the thrusters maintain its orientation as it comes in, as it re-enters, and then we throw out a parachute, and the parachute steers it to a particular location. And so I just was showing a picture of an intact fairing path floating in the ocean.
Yes, logo on.
Yes, yes, sure enough.
It's the wrong car.
It's the hop without the logo.
US flag on it.
But yeah, that's really exciting because I mean just that fairing, which is over 5 meter diameter. It's like you can fit like a bus inside that fairing, and it costs $6 million to make that fairing. And at one point we're like debating, should we try to recover it or not? It's like, guys, imagine you had $6 million in cash in a pallet flying through the air that was going to smash into the ocean. Would you try to recover that? Yes. Yes, you would. So rather than have to smash it to tiny pieces, that's looking quite promising. So what we'll have is kind of like a bouncy castle for it to land on, and then aim to reuse the fairing as well. And then the other thing left is the upper stage, which we didn't originally intend for Falcon 9 to have a reusable upper stage. It might be fun to try like a Hail Mary and, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It blows up, it blows up anyway.
No, we need to discuss this.
Yes.
Dave, did that get to your question? Because I want to make sure you got your question.
You answered part of my question, the second stage. But I wanted to know, like, how this fits in, now that you've done this, how does this fit in with your grand scheme, your grand plan here to get to Mars, to launch astronauts and things like that? How does this affect those plans? And will you refly boosters with astronauts on top? Yeah, I guess how does this affect the Mars plan as well?
Well, I think that this is really a critical part of the Mars plan. If you consider the goal of Mars not to be a single mission, but one where we establish a self-sustaining city on Mars. In order to do that, there's some threshold cost in terms of the cost per ton for the surface of Mars that has to be achieved in order for that to be feasible. If that cost per ton exceeds the gross world product of Earth, which it currently does, then that's obviously not going to happen. There needs to be at least a 100-fold, if not perhaps 1,000-fold reduction in the cost per ton to Mars. Actually, maybe 10,000-fold. And reusability is absolutely fundamental to that goal. So this, I think, is a very helpful proof point that it's possible. And I hope people start to think of it as a real goal to which we should aspire, to establish a civilization on Mars. It's really, this is not just about humanity, it's about all the life that we care about.
I'd like to go back to the room for questions. Is it Stephen Clark, please?
Hi, Elon. Stephen Clark from Spaceflight Now. Thanks for coming by. A couple of questions. First of all, do you have customers who have signed up for a reused rocket in the future, reused booster?
We're not sitting right here.
Well, beyond
Besides
Mr. Hallowell.
Besides, what's the name? Yes. Yeah, there's currently excluding Falcon 9, excluding the Falcon Heavy flight, which is just basically on SpaceX SES-10 that nobody's paying us for that because it's a demonstration flight. It's essentially a test flight. That's two of the reused boosters. There are, I think, 3 or 4 others that have signed up on a contingency basis. Like, if this one works, then sure. And so I think probably we'll see more of those customers being willing to do on I should use the right terminology, flight-proven booster. That's right, flight-proven.
Touche, and I have a follow-up as well. Can you update us on where Falcon Heavy is? I know you're testing things in McGregor right now.
Sure.
Where are you at with qualification of hardware, and what's driving the launch date, and when do you expect it to debut here?
Sure. Well, Falcon Heavy is one of those things that sounds, at first it sounded easy. We'll just take 2 first stages and use them as strap-on boosters. And actually, no, this is crazy hard. And required redesign of the center core and a ton of additional hardware. It was actually shockingly difficult to go from single core to a triple core vehicle. But we're now done with the testing, and the cores are in final fabrication. I think they finish in about 2 or 3 months. So our expectation is probably a late summer launch of Falcon Heavy.
James Dean?
Thank you, James Dean, for today.
I should still say, our priority is launching our, since we have a backlog because of we had a whole gap of time as we recovered from the issue that we had last year. Our priority is, of course, making sure that we launch our customers. So Falcon Heavy necessarily is a second priority to making sure that our customers' needs are met.
Thanks, James. Dave Flora today. Elon, how confident were you going into the countdown and through that first booster phase? And then just regarding reusability, one of the concerns, I guess, is about the flight rate you'll need to make it pay off. Even those who are for it, say, well, you got to launch, this many times to make it worth it.
Sure.
So for you, what do you think is today the day to celebrate, or are we, maybe years from what flight rate do you need to reach, and how long will it take?
It's really true that if you just say how much effort has SpaceX put into developing reusability, and nobody was paying us for reusability, so it had to be on our own dime. I think it's probably at least $1 billion that we spent developing this, so it'll take us a while to pay that all. And then we need to get really efficient with the reuse of the booster and with the fairing. I would expect the economics to start becoming sensible next year. That's, pretty close. And we expect the boosters to, with no refurbishment, be capable of 10 flights, and with moderate refurbishment, be capable of 100 flights. So you can imagine that, if the cost of the rocket is, say, $60 million, we're not reusing the whole thing, but with the fairing, assuming the fairing reuse works out, and as we optimize the cost of the reuse of the booster, you're really looking at maybe 3/4 of the rocket cost dropping by an order of magnitude, and maybe more.
And were you confident going into today?
Well, I just have like 2 boxes of Xanax. That helped. I was oddly, I felt calmer than I should, but I think I should really feel. I was actually, oddly enough, I was nervous that I wasn't nervous enough. Sort of nested level of fear, nested fear. But I felt sort of oddly calm, and it worked out as well as one could expect. It's really credit to the SpaceX team for doing an amazing job.
Lauren Grush with The Verge. I was wondering if you could talk about the new facility that you guys have on the Cape and how that will work into the refurbishment process of the rockets. And if we're addressing rumors here today, I was wondering if you might be able to talk about the robot that we've seen on the drone ship lately.
What robot? What are you talking about? We have a refurbishment facility at the Cape. Most of the refurbishment will be done at the launch site itself. So we've got space at 39A, and we're building space at 40, and then there's also a separate rocket hangar, actually, for the rocket fleet. The rocket fleet's getting kind of big. There'll be sort of like a forest of rocket boosters. Because we've got another 20 flights or something this year, something in that order. If most of those succeed, we're going to need quite a big hangar, and that's So there's facilities for that, and the robot thing is in order to secure the rocket remotely, because we can't put any people on board if the rocket's sliding around because it's too dangerous. So those little droids that people have seen are in order to remotely secure the legs of the rocket. And so the rocket is stabilized, doesn't move around, and even in high seas, we can still have a crew aboard the drone ship and
one in action?
Actually, it might be, or certainly within the next few months. Like today was fine, like because the seas were so calm, the rocket's not moving around, and so it's not, you don't really need droids. But it's kind of more in like the heavy seas situation. So we had that one case where it was quite stormy, and the booster was like sliding from one side of the drone ship to the other. It's like the only thing that stopped it from going overboard was there was like a lip on the edge. There was like bang against lip, and then slide to the other side, bang against lip. But it made it to port.
Good, Rob.
Hello, Robin Simanuel with the New York Observer. Can you give us an update on the development of the interplanetary transport system and what's next in terms of what's the next component that'll be tested following the carbon fuel tank and the Raptor engine? What's next?
Yeah, so I will provide an update on the design of the interplanetary transport system. That interplanetary transport system also includes the propellant depot on Mars. That's why it's sort of, like, I actually don't usually like the word system, but you can't call it a rocket if it includes a propellant depot. The Mars Colonial Transporter or Mars Transporter or Interplanetary Transporter, we've come up with a number of design refinements, and I think we'll probably be ready to put that on the website within a month or so. Yeah.
Just one follow-up. The time frame has kind of shifted since Guadalajara. I was wondering if you guys had any updated time frame of when you think that first mission will be launched, and if I'm correct, the first one is uncrewed, correct?
Yeah, the first ones will be uncrewed. I don't want to steal thunder from that announcement because I think it's, I'm pretty excited about the updated strategy since Guadalajara. I think it makes a lot more sense, and we have to not just get it done technically, but figure out how to get this done without going bankrupt. So it's like our goal is to get people on Mars before we're dead and the company isn't dead. So like neither one can die. Ideally, of course. We don't want to be so take so long that we're dead by the time it happens, and we don't want to kill the company in the process. So we have to figure out not just solve the technical issues, but the economic issues. And I think the new approach is going to be able to do that, hopefully.
Cool.
I'd like to go back and take some more questions on the phone. I think next on the line is Alex Knapp from Forbes. Go ahead, Alex.
Hi, Elon. Thanks for taking my call. I have to ask, before I got the fourth question, what's the pricing discount on a flight-proven launch option versus a standard option?
Actually, we're trying to figure that out, but it will be a meaningful discount. We do have to pay off. We'll figure out some way to pay off the development costs of our reusability. So the price discount won't be price discount won't be as much as the cost savings, because we need to kind of repay the massive development cost. But it'll certainly be less than the current price of our rockets, obviously, and will be far lower than any other rocket in the world.
Thank you.
The next question is also on the phone. It's Carrie Sheridan from Agence France Presse.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. Could you just repeat for me, I'm not sure if I heard you correctly, about how many times might you be able to reuse one of the boosters, both for one that's been reworked a lot like this one and one that has undergone minimal refurbishment? Thanks.
Sure. The design intent is that the rocket can be reflown with zero hardware changes. You know, the only thing that changes is you reload propellant 10 times. And then with moderate refurbishment that doesn't have a significant effect on the cost, it can be reflown at least 100 times. Right? Actually, really, I mean, we could make it 1,000, but it's probably not, there's no point in that. I think. For the Mars vehicle, the booster will be designed for 1,000 flights or more.
let's go back into the room. Ken Kramer, please.
Hi, thanks. Ken Kramer, Universe Today. Thanks for doing this and congratulations on the flight. So, my question is about the refurbishment. And what are the lessons that you've learned? You got 8 cores back and you got 1 today. There has to be some things that are used more, that are more prone to failure. So what are those? What are the things that keep you up at night? What are the lessons you've learned and implemented? And the second question would be, for your moonshot, are you going to have a vigorous science program, any science program, and can you tell us about it? Thanks.
Sure. Well, I want to make sure we don't widen this press conference into the all things. I think because today is really about the fact that the rocket booster was reflown and succeeded. And so I don't want to contain things to that because there's lots of other exciting things in the future. But this will be a very long press conference if we did all that. Some of the technical elements that are the most tricky, I think, for reuse is the base heat shield of the rocket, the grid fins. If you saw on the webcast, you may have noticed that the grid fins were lighting on fire. So we actually have a new design for the grid fin, which is quite a bit more advanced than the current one, and I believe it will be the largest titanium forging in the world. So it's a special alloy of titanium that's very good at high heat flux, whereas this grid fin is made of aluminum, but it's covered in thermal protection. So it's but it gets so hot the thing lights on fire a little bit, which is not great for reuse. But the new grid fins should be capable of taking a scorching and being fine. And they will also have significantly more control authority, so that should improve the reusability of the rocket. It will actually improve the payload by being able to fly it at a higher angle of attack and use the aerodynamic elements of the rocket to effectively glide like a big cylinder. Like it actually does have a LVD of roughly 1 if flown at the right angle of attack. But you need a control authority, particularly pitch control authority, but that's higher than we currently have to achieve that. So, grid fins, base heat shield, paint, I guess. Paint can get a little toasty, so maybe having more of a thermal barrier coating instead of paint. And there's a million little things. I think we've got the base heat shield thing addressed. We've got a good plan for the grid fins, and then there's like a bunch of little things that need to be ironed out. But overall, I think we've got a plan to achieve the 24-hour zero hardware change reusability by next year.
Next year. Okay.
Another question in the room, please.
Thank you.
How about Brendan Byrne from WMFE, the NPR affiliate here at the Space Coast?
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. With that said, with those challenges, and I know it's still a little bit early, with the data that you're getting back from this booster, is there anything that stands out in your mind that you're worried about, or how's this booster doing? How do you know?
I mean, I was looking at the telemetry all the way up and down. Everything looked great. It looks really good. I mean, just kind of eyeballing it, I think that like the other things that would need to be addressed on this booster to refly it would be to replace the thermal protection on the grid fins and on the base heat shield, and to repaint areas of the rocket where the paint bubbled. I'm not aware of anything else that would need to be.
So fixable things like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely, and we've got a plan for all of those elements.
Thank you.
More questions in the room? How about Tim Fernholz from Quartz?
Yeah, in fact, I'll just elaborate on that. Like one thing that's not sort of well understood about spaceflight is that altitude is really not the thing that matters. It's velocity. It's a little counterintuitive because people see a rocket pointing up and it goes straight up, and you think, well, okay, the way rockets go to space is they go straight up, and then suddenly gravity stops at some point, and that's how you get to space. That's not at all how it works. That's why we have the word orbit. So the way that things go up and stay up is they zoom around the Earth so fast that the outward acceleration, outward radial acceleration is equal to the inward acceleration of gravity. They null out, and that's why you don't fall down. And the thing that really is incredibly difficult to deal with is the heat of reentry. Now, generally this is a good thing because it means that we don't get all tunneled by meteors all the time because they get burnt up in the upper atmosphere, so it's good. But then if you want to make a rocket come back and not also be vaporized, that's hard. And you can't have this really heavy heat shield or you won't get any payload to orbit. So the trick is to figure out just the right level of armor in just the right places with advanced materials and best analytical techniques so that you have all the thermal protection that you need, but it's not so much that you don't have any payload to orbit. That's really the trick of it. Actually, missions like the one we just did are the hardest missions because anything going to geosynchronous transfer orbit means it's a high velocity mission, and that means the booster is coming in really hot. It's coming in fast, which means it's coming in really hot. The peak heating is as the cube of velocity, just really nutty to think about. It means that, say, the heating difference between Mach 1 and Mach 8 is 500, roughly. This is crazy heating difference. And then, of course, once you pass the melting point of metals, then, well, your thing melts and explodes. So that's really it's dealing with that velocity of reentry that is the difficult thing.
Hi, gentlemen. Tim Fernholz from Sports. Martin, I wanted to ask you to follow up on something you said earlier about SES deciding to back SpaceX. You said you have to separate the emotion from the engineering. What emotion are you talking about? Is that about SpaceX or about innovation in the aerospace industry generally?
No, it was really referring to the comments that we had over the last couple of days when we spoke to the press and we spoke to the people and we made a little press conference and such like. A lot of people came back and said, you're taking an inordinate risk here. You have an extremely expensive spacecraft, has a very important mission to do in Latin America. Aren't you taking a huge chance here? And what I was trying to react to there is to say, actually, I don't think we are. Because we'd actually worked through this problem. We worked very, very closely together with SpaceX. And that's really probably why we've done more of these type of missions with SpaceX than anybody else. We've been the first on Proton, all this type of stuff. But with SpaceX, we have a certain transparency, and we have a certain depth of relationship, and also access to engineering specifics through our US citizens that allow us to be able to have that confidence in the fact that the engineering is good, and that we can go ahead with such a mission and make that investment and be happy that this hugely expensive spacecraft can fly on this particular booster. So that's really where I'm coming from. You've got to get away from the idea that it's second-hand, it's it may make it, it may not, that doesn't interest us whatsoever. You actually have to go into this really with a sang-fly. You have to go into this really cold-blooded and just work through the various different issues, understand the testing, understand the engineering associated with this, and then you make your decision. That's exactly what we did. We have 3 more flights this year with SpaceX. On 2 of those flights, we're considering now moving them to pre-flown.
Great, that's good.
Question for you, Elon.
Absolutely.
In Mexico, you showed us a photo in your presentation of a very early days at SpaceX with a mariachi band and 12 people in a hallway.
Right.
Since
From a mariachi band to here.
Since that time, you mentioned 15 years. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, is this a day of personal satisfaction for you? Do you feel vindicated in this mission to lower the cost of space access?
Yeah, this is a huge day. My mind's blown. Frankly. I was really quite speechless after it all happened. It's a culmination of a tremendous amount of work by a very talented team. I can't credit the engineering team and production team at SpaceX enough and the launch team for what they've achieved.
Maybe just a couple to that. I think when we did the SES-8, which was the first commercial GTO mission that we did with SpaceX, I made the comment that the industry will be shaking in its boots. Oh, I think it's shaking now. I really do.
It will still change, but better.
Hey, that's good.
Another question in the room. How about Marco Santana from Orlando South?
Hi. I was wondering a little bit off of what he just said. Can you try to put this in perspective? I mean, you've had a successful career, obviously successes and failures as an entrepreneur, but can you put this in perspective on where this fits in with all of that? And the second question I wanted to ask briefly is, why are you keeping the Cape? What went into that decision to keep it here?
Well, it's just this one booster, because it has some historic significance, so we thought having it remain at the Cape would be good. The future ones would, well, actually, the future ones would probably remain at the Cape too. They would just be going through just flying a lot.
Yeah.
So building up the space fleet, basically. Yeah. So what was the question?
Where do you fit this in your whole career milestones, I guess?
Definitely one of the best things ever. Sure. That's 15 years is like a lot of those 15 years. Jeez.
More questions in the room, please?
Hi, Thaddeus Cesari with the Utica Phoenix, and there's been a lot of history, there's been quite a lot of history made from LC-39A.
Yeah, it's like Times Square. I mean, it's like when NASA said that they would lease it to us and allow us to use that pad, it was an incredible honor because that's obviously where the Apollo 11 moon landing, that's where they launched from. Yeah, coolest launch location that I could possibly think of. Yeah.
And was this part of your design to lease this pad, or did this?
No, I mean, it sort of came up, and NASA asked us if we had interest, and we were like, hell yeah.
More questions in the room, please. How about Zubarova, Marcos from Alpines in the back?
Thank you. Elon, SpaceX currently launches satellites and cargo to the International Space Station. So today's achievement, how could open the door to many new endeavors in space?
Well, I think the key is going to be reduction of the cost of access to space. I think over time, the current architecture of Falcon 9, I think, will certainly allow for dramatic reduction in the cost of access to space. But then, looking ahead to our next generation vehicle, the big rocket, actually, kernel code name of BFR, Big Falcon Rocket. I didn't want you around. That vehicle, I think, is really taking all of what we've learned and creating something which is fully reusable and it really, in fact, the primary booster is being designed to reflight within less than an hour. You could fly once per hour with the primary booster. And I'm really confident that architecture, with a high flight rate, which I think will occur, can achieve a 100-fold reduction in the cost per unit mass to orbit, or really anywhere in the solar system. So I think what today really, what the significance of today is, I think, proving that it's possible to do that, at least with the primary booster, and then we'll show next with the upper stage as well. And that at this point, I'm highly confident that it is possible to achieve a 100-fold reduction in the cost of space transport. and maybe more, maybe better than that. And so it means for the same budget, we can do 100 times more things. Mind-blowing, realistic. Next level.
Next question from Greg from Channel 13. Greg, hold on, please, in the back.
Congratulations, Greg Below, News 13. Was wondering, with your kids here, is this an example of recycling the environment, recycling boosters, teaching them about the environment? Personal dad thing?
Well, there was like just the potential for historic moments, so it's good to have the kids and have them see it directly, and I hope they had a good time.
Sleeping.
More questions in the room, please? How about
I'll just take a couple more questions, I think, yeah.
Stephanie Siegel from NBC News, please?
Hi, Elon. With reusability now an option, how will you decide which missions will be using these flight-proven rockets versus first time, or is it solely based on customer request?
Well, it's the customers that are willing to take a flight-proven booster, or yes, some will still want to see a lot more flights before they're comfortable with what we call a flight-proven booster. They may use a different term, but it does seem as though we're like we may do maybe half a dozen or more flights of a reclone booster this year, and then next year probably double that, and then I would expect that for the Falcon architecture over time, probably 3/4 of our missions or more are with the reclone booster.
Maybe as an operator, I could add to that. My belief is within 24 months, people like SpaceX, well, SpaceX specifically, will offer a service to orbit, and it'll be irrelevant. It'll be irrelevant if it's new or it's pre-flown.
Yeah.
It'll be irrelevant within 24 months. That's what this means to them.
Yeah. The goal is to make this normal.
Yeah.
It's just normal. Like, what about it? Like, of course the thing comes back and lands. Like,
I think so.
why wouldn't it?
We have time for one more question, I think, in the room here, please. How about in the very back, right there? Yes.
Chris Gephardt with NASA Spaceflight. In terms of more short-term reusability efforts, how does this...
Yes, that's all approximately correct. So we need to get 40 up and running again, so that we can start doing single-stick flights from 40, which allows us to do the heavy flights from 39A. So that necessarily... I mean, technically it should be called the Falcon 27. We thought that maybe that would sound too scary, so we called it Falcon Heavy. So certainly we wouldn't want to take the risk of something going wrong with that pad and then having no pad on the East Coast. So we're going to get 40 up and running, confirm that's good, and then we can launch heavy from 39A. Block 5, the nomenclature I think we're probably not using the right nomenclature because it's more like a point release than it's Block 5 is more like version 2.5 of Falcon 9 is probably the most accurate way to think about it. And the most important part of Block 5 will be operating the engines at their full thrust capability, which is about 7.
SES.com, and follow us both on social media.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Can you guys shake hands again?
Sure. Yeah.
And hug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.